call it to order.
That's why we're here.
Public comments, we don't have any public here. Okay.
7:05.
Finance. Treasurer's report. Do you have anything to say? Mary?
There's nothing unusual to report on the May's treasurer's report, but I do have the documents to review for the tax anticipation line of credit,
Right.
if you wish me to go to that now.
Yes,
Okay, so included in the packet that was kindly put out was the analysis for the anticipated amount for the line of credit. That actually is a little bit on the conservative side.
Is this the final ed tax rec document?
No, but I'll mention something about that one in just a second. It is the, oops, my pages are out of order. It is the one that says, cash flow projection for 2018-19.
Oh, we've got some packet for that down here.
It was in
Looks
my
like
packet.
this. Yeah. How'd you get it?
Do you have one that
Which
looks like
packet
this?
did you open up?
I'll take that.
Someone is welcome to have,
I'll take one.
What's it called?
oh,
Thank
it's
you.
called the North Bennington Greatest School District Cash Flow Projection for 2018-19.
Showing
That's not in the
a
packet.
low in
Is
March.
that mine? Do you want
No,
me to make a
I
couple
Okay.
just, I just went
copies?
to the
So people can look at
website.
that?
That's, I only
SBSC
had that one.
website to get it. I don't see that.
Ray,
From
may I
Ray,
make a
so we
couple?
can-
Ray, may I go make a couple copies? You can borrow that?
What does it look like?
Okay.
There's,
Well-
Oh, no,
there's
it's-
NBSG
it's-
10.
Yeah, it's
TAN?
NBSG
Yes.
10.
Yeah.
Sorry to
Got it.
Yeah, okay.
We got
You
it.
have it?
Okay.
We're good.
Okay.
Okay. So,
thank you.
what I do is I take the next year's budget, put that into a spreadsheet showing the expenses by month, also what income comes in by month, and then estimate where we will be at the end of this current fiscal year, which is a couple of weeks from now. What I show here is estimated cash on hand of $345,000. We'll probably have closer to 370 actually in there. Now, I also do not include the total cash we have in the bank, because I'm not gonna count the amount that we have set aside for the building reserve, because we wouldn't want to use that
Right, of course.
for our operating reasons.
Yeah.
We'll probably have a little more, but for one, I just don't know, I hadn't seen any expenses come in for the bathrooms. I wasn't sure if some of that might come in this month. But even if it doesn't, this is for a line of credit. I'd rather have a line for a little bit more than what we need and then a little bit less. We prob-
Speaking to the bathroom, there will be a final warrant, and we will have, yeah, there'll be some, what's 30 or 14,000?
Oh, good, then that's,
And
put in-
plus the tile, which is, the tile, maybe this Supply Works plastic, tile's 1874.
okay. All right, then we'll be right on track, and then you'll
Yeah.
also have in the next warrant, unless it was
And
in
one other
here
is,
and I
you know,
didn't
if Perry
see it.
can get an invoice for instruments, I'll pay that.
Okay, then you'll also have the fourth quarter of the treasurer's salary.
Correct.
Unless that was in, I didn't see it in the one that was in this packet, but that check
Yep.
is done. Okay, so once again, I anticipate using our line of credit in August and October, as we've done in prior years. One never knows, because one doesn't know if some unexpected expense will come in outside of that. But we should not need to borrow anywhere near the $264,000.
Okay.
But that covers the maximum shortfall and also covers 5% of our estimated overall budget.
Mhm.
So what you show here is an estimated maximum of about 129,000.
Correct, and then you can take 5% of your estimated
Yep,
expenses, so, that should be there. So if you are in agreement with that analysis, there are a couple of documents which need signatures. One is the certificate for the line of credit itself, and then there are two other documents, the resolution, which also will need Lori's signature, and then the certification, which is just the rules and regulations that go along with this, saying that we'll only use it for the appropriate purposes, et cetera. So those two are in here marked. There are a couple of other documents, should you wish to look at them in here. The tax exempt certification that could just get signed by myself.
May I see that for a second?
Yes,
'Cause
and
it-
then the benefit, and then another, let me just make sure my other notes weren't in here. And then another one-time thing.
So we need to make a motion to
Authorize.
accept the line of credit, authorize the line of credit, borrowing.
Waive the reading of the resolution.
And what?
Waive the reading of the resolution or the articles of the
I will
resolution.
make a motion to accept, to authorize the line of credit
Okay.
and to waive the reading of the authorization regarding the tax
Right.
anticipation note.
I'll second that motion.
The certification, we don't have to move anything on, do we? Or do we?
Well, if you accept the line of credit and you
Oh, yes, we
sign
do.
that,
Right. So
that,
are you moving this certification of use of non-arbitrage, the non-arbitrage certificate? As well, or
Yes.
should we do that separately?
In most other boards, we just do it all as one lump sum because the bank puts all of these documents together.
Yeah,
Their legal
right.
department does, so it's
So,
standard.
will you accept a friendly amendment to include the non-arbitrage certificate?
Most certainly.
Thank you. I need a second.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Now we have to sign it.
and then I will mail the originals to the bank tomorrow, and that line will be in place by the 2nd of July.
Okay.
Super. Go ahead and my
Let's see, I
pen
gotta
around.
do the certificate. All right, so, anything else to say about finances?
No, I'm hoping, I am hoping to end this June with the lowest amount of delinquent taxes I have seen.
In the history of your tenure.
Which is only 4 years, but one time I'm gonna get to 0. But it's not
Even if
this
you have to
year.
put it in yourself, right?
Yeah,
No,
I don't think
fantastic.
but
I don't think
we
it's a-
really only have 4 properties that have any significant balance. And one of the 4 is on a regular plan. One of the 4 is going to litigation with the town of Shaftsbury. And 2 of the 4 have received a final letter saying you signed this agreement and abide by this agreement, or those 2 will
Go to sale.
go to, well, at least go to an attorney. It's amazing, sometimes people
No.
listen to the attorney and not me.
Yes.
Great.
Good job.
Yes.
And are you in town till through the end of the month? So we can get
Yes.
another warrant out?
Yes, yes. A day here or there, but nothing.
They have a new kitty. They can't go
I
in.
know. I know, I'm so
It's
excited.
about that big. Did you name your kitty yet?
His name is Carlos Santana, but I don't know if he's a boy.
Carla, Carlos.
That's okay no matter what.
That's right.
So that's what we call it.
Yes, admiring your pink.
And if that cat can play,
Seems to be a place for the clerk there.
love to hear it.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's
Not-
another one on
not-
that third spot.
All right.
too.
Are we supposed to sign the third page?
Both
There's three
pages,
places to
Oh,
sign.
the certification as well as,
Those blue ones.
These three.
I only signed two.
I know,
Well,
that's
there's
what I'm telling
three.
you,
We
three.
followed you.
Send it back.
I
out.
am, Matthew.
What's the third one? I signed,
It looked like it.
There was
Couldn't be
the
more clear, there's
the
three blue
first page
stickies.
Yes.
and the two blue stickies. One was the resolution
Okay,
and
I
one was
missed
the
one.
arbitrage, non-arbitrage.
well, I signed that one, but non-arbitrage. No, I missed it.
They look very similar.
The third one was the one you said you just had to sign.
Yep, okay. All right, so the next thing up on the agenda is consent agenda, which is minutes from last month and the warrant. So, always I'm looking for a resolution, a motion.
I will move to accept the consent agenda.
Second up.
Okay. Are there any questions about the warrant? Do you have the warrant with you?
I do.
May I see that, please? Thank you.
The big one.
$334, that's gonna break the bank. That's the
Back to you there.
printing annual reports and the, $160 is for the building permit application fee for our renovation.
Really? Just that was crazy bathroom.
What's that?
We paid Victor Milani's mileage fee for coming out and talking to Ken.
Really?
How much
Okay.
was that?
Yeah, really.
Right.
$5.46?
Yeah, 546.
Okay.
That's not breaking the bank either.
No, but
And
that's like-
we're paying Lori, reimbursing Victor,
I want mine.
reimbursing the Southwest Supervisory Union for printing our annual reports, thank you very much. And the building permit application that they're forwarding for us to Labor and Industry.
So we're signing this. Well, we
We-
haven't voted, but we've
We
moved
were
in
voting
second.
first.
Yep,
Did we have a motion and a second?
we did.
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do.
All in favor?
Hey,
Aye. Done. Okay, we have policies, one to warn and one to adopt. One is 7100, which is board member education. Actually, isn't it board chair education?
No, it's board member. It's a new one.
And what does it say?
As I read it, it's a suggestion and a hope that it will get paid for, a suggestion that board members get educated. It's a suggestion on how the chair and the superintendent can help out with that. And, yeah, if funds are available. And then it goes through and lists different areas that we should focus on in our education.
But it's not citing the law that says that superintendent and the board chair have to
No,
spend 8 hours
no,
together.
no,
This
this
is
is
more-
mostly directed at new members.
Okay.
And
Sounds like a good
it,
idea.
it's, yeah, I think it is, and I'll bring back any suggestions you guys have. I mean, if you think there's stuff that they didn't list or whatever.
Okay.
This is for a warning.
So, I'll entertain a motion to warn this policy. 7100, board member education. And second, if you please.
So moved?
I will second.
Okay. Any further comments about it? All in favor?
Aye.
Policy 7300, public participation at board meetings. This is an adoption. I think we've already gone through this.
Yeah.
And it really only had one fairly small change to it,
Yeah. It was
which
almost
was
grammatical.
that
Oh, okay.
you couldn't exclude public comments from a meeting that was warned only basically for an executive session.
Right.
So I don't have any problems with that. It's not even particularly cumbersome. Not for us anyway, because we wouldn't have public hearings.
I will move to
anyway.
adopt policy 7300, public comment rules.
I'll second.
All right, any further comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, superintendent's report. I don't know, you gonna make a report, Henry? I didn't think you would. Okay. Chair's report. All right, well, we really have two basic items. I thought I would ask Matthew to speak to the Agency of Education's proposed reorganization for Section 9 districts.
Well, as you've all seen, what happened was expected, pretty much right down the line. I think the recommendations were simply really a non-action, not wanting to push the issue in this supervisory union.
So lay it out quickly what the...
Well, so as it stands, they are proposing either, the end game is that they're proposing a creation of a district that would be composed of Woodford, Pownell, Shaftesbury, Bennington, because they're the only ones that can be formed in that district. And then also maintaining the MAU as it stands, of which North Bennington would be a part of. Obviously, it was our hope that we could find a way to seek permission to get choice at the secondary level. We knew that was a long shot, and as we always believed, the one way that we can do that is to hold a vote in our community that would express our interest in leaving the MAU, and then that would trigger a vote in all the other districts to have a vote of their own within 60 days?
30.
30?
It's pretty fast turnaround.
It's always been our feeling that, for various reasons, other districts might not be interested in allowing North Bennington that opportunity. I think at this point, it's become more than a whether or not it negatively or positively impacts the current MAU population. It's more of a playing card for districts that did not vote to support a merger in the previous vote in November. Because I think Pownell very much is happier with the outcome of the state proposal to maintain an elementary district separate from the high school, middle school district, so that from the understandably, so that those districts would not maybe want to support our proposal such that they can keep the situation that they have. If they were to support our ability to leave the MAU and become a full K-12 choice district, that would put all the other districts in a position where they would much more simply form a K-12 fully merged, which is what the ideals of Act 46 were. So,
And it's also what Bennington, Woodford, and Shasberry put in their Section 9 reports. That's what they wanted.
they wanted what?
They wanted to merge into at least a MUD.
Right. So at this point, you know, as
And
much.
excuse me, what did Pownell put in their section 9?
They didn't want to do that. They wanted exactly what was
Okay.
proposed,
Yeah,
which
okay,
is
okay.
the union district of like elementary districts.
They fear, Pownell fears, and probably rightfully so, that they'll get lost in that. Their opportunities will get muddled in a full merger.
And Nelson has said personally to me and to others, I'm sure, and I believe it's also in their report, that they believe that this is a better configuration because the elementary will not get lost in the mass of detail about the secondary system.
Right. And I understand all that. What's unfortunate is that we can't really independently seek, you know, our destiny and what our community, I think, believes would be ideal for our students. But you know, we are a member of that, historically, of that group, and you know, we'll have to see how that plays out. I will say that I don't think that our board, and this is my own opinion, but I don't think that the North Bennington Prudential Committee really should be, you know, we know where we stand on this, but if we're going to have a vote in this community, I really believe it's got to start coming from members of the community. So if there's, you know, and that means members of the school, or families where they are benefiting from the choice they have and are attending other schools. But I have no interest in unilaterally proposing such a vote to vote to leave the MAU unless I see, you know, a significant
there needs to be
petition
a
of our
groundswell.
board to do that. There needs to be.
Now, what if we waited till after the actual formation of the Union Elementary District?
You may know better than me whether at that point we are fully locked out of that opportunity. I don't, you know, we know that we're already locked out because of the previous.
Well, I'm merely asking from the point of view of, you know, it's only one board. But it's
Right.
all the communities. You need a majority vote of
Right.
3 communities or whatever it is, 4 communities.
Right, so that's the question. If and when Woodford and Pownell and Shasberry and Bennington do in fact become a unified K through 6 district, then does that change how the vote goes? You know, that if then our community voted to leave the MAU, is that vote still up to all the different towns? And I
Yeah,
think it would be, because
I don't
all
know.
those different towns are still part of the MAU.
Still part of MAU.
It's not, we're not asking to leave the K-6 district because we're not part of it. You know, this stuff is none of this has been tested in any sort of legal manner, so, you know, I think the take-home point here is that the actions that this community took over the last 7 years has been, I think, very positive in where we've ended up. Because had we not made the move to independence and the K-6 choice, we would have no choice. Our destiny would already be determined, and I think at this point, at least, it's not. And our preservation of choice and the preservation of this school and this building and the village school and the preservation of parents' opportunity to choose this or other opportunities is intact and doesn't seem to be threatened. You know, and I think,
Yeah.
I mean, it would be I think it's important that the village school consider, you know, a secondary program, if it so desires, but that would be outside of the choice model. And but I think it could be a great opportunity for kids in this community who maybe aren't really ready or equipped or best suited at the middle school. You know. So I think we're where we thought we would be, you know.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
May I ask, what is, just to play it out, what's the disadvantage of calling the vote? Just to actually see what would happen. I mean, does it damage, like, I mean, you think you know how it's gonna turn out, and it may very well turn, but I mean, if this community voted, we would like to leave, and then the other community said no, it would then tell you. So is there a disadvantage of actually trying to do that to the existing community? Like, it would just be a vote and then we're done for a while and we know? I'm just curious as to what would be the...
I think that's kind of where I was getting at, that I think that's not a bad idea, but I don't want it to come from, I don't want it to come from the top, from this board.
I'm just curious.
I think that if maybe the process is for the community to petition this board to call such a vote.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to call it,
Yes.
but I'm not going to call it without
Without
seeing that the community is actually fully behind the fight that might ensue.
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
which could become legal, and it could, you know, it's.
Mhm.
So I think it's a good idea. It's about timing,
Mhm.
and whether now better than later, or later better than now, or, but I personally on this board, I'm not going to just say we should have a vote and then call it and do it. I would want to see, you know, all the parents and families that are vested and are benefiting from choice, and who are seeking choice at a fuller level to
The
make that
advantage of
clear.
doing that is that then you have a pretty good idea the community's gonna
Mhm.
vote that way.
Oh, no. Yeah,
At least
makes
you
sense.
make a
Yeah.
step.
No, that makes sense.
If we,
And
if
I
they
think it'll be a
don't
stronger
vote that
statement.
way.
It'll be a better vote,
Yeah.
you know. It won't be 27 people showing up for a water bond vote. We'd like to have,
Right.
you know, hundreds
And-
of people.
If the community wants to have that vote, and they show that they want to have it, they petition us, that's fine, we'll have it anytime they want it, because I don't think it really matters at this point. It could be before the full consolidation, Section 10 consolidation by the state board, or it could be after. I don't think it really matters, one way or another. It's possible waiting to see the impact of all the various initiatives that are going on at the middle and the high school related to Act 77, whatever they may turn out to be, and personalized learning, personalized education plans are, so that people have an idea what they're objecting to. you know, from
Mhm.
experience.
Yeah.
Um, And,
And I think we haven't, you know, we just have gotten this proposal laid out from the state, and I don't think any community has even had time yet to really respond. We don't know how other communities are gonna respond to the proposals. I think some will actually be really great and work out. We don't really know if there's any teeth in, we don't know yet because the state board hasn't
right.
really
We
had a look at it. This is just the recommendation of the interim, temporary, already
temporary agency here.
agency head that took over when the previous
I did have,
secretary left.
you know, I read through a lot of the preliminary talk in that report. It seemed like a rehash of arguments for Act 46. Instead of, it's like, why don't you just get to the story here?
Mhm.
It's a little faster. And the second thing is that first group of districts that they forced into a consolidation, a unified union, they ignored votes in all those communities. And yet, in this community, they're going to ignore the votes of Shasberry and Bennington, the two largest communities, who overwhelmed the other communities in terms of votes, and accept the nay votes of, what, Pownell was by 2 votes? And Woodford settled on 17 or 18 or something like that. It's like, what is this doing to us that we're no longer following the votes of our communities? I think there's a serious objection to the whole process based on that. If someone wants to make it, we aren't affected, so we're not a party to anything like that. But I think David Kelly's district there, Hazen, I don't know which it is. It's up in the Hazen Bailey territory, right? Yeah. They may be fighting this thing.
Well, I would think that I'm kind of surprised I haven't heard Bennington or Shasberry seeking some advice on fighting for that very reason.
Right.
If they really believe that they would be better served with a unified K-12,
Right.
are they going to just settle for what the state tells them?
Mhm.
Or, so I think there's just a lot. This is the only reason I would think that, having a vote now, yes, believe me, if people said this is the time, we'd do it. I would support recommending that, but
Right.
there's also the benefit, the tincture of time that comes with seeing how other stuff plays out.
Mhm.
And, we're not in any worse position than we were.
Oh, no, it seems to be sort of status quo.
And we have an opportunity to make further comment when the state board comes out with their actual plan. We can argue for our case again. It won't do us any good, I'm sure, but, at least we can go stand up there bravely and say, we think this is not very useful for us. And that you could have been a lot more forceful and actually paid heed to the actual votes that occurred in this SU.
And
Yeah.
keep in mind that at the same time, the state board is evolving in terms of its membership.
Yep,
I mean, there's just been a new appointment,
yep,
Oliver Olson, who is, I think, at least a rational supporter of the diversity of educational opportunities for kids. And so once it comes down to the state board actually doing this, it may look very different than it did 3 years ago when they were trying to enforce this stuff, so.
No, they've got to put their plan together by November, is it? October? November?
Yeah.
November 30th, I think.
So, and then there's got to be time for a comment before it starts being implemented.
Although,
An objection.
I believe they're anticipating full implementation in 19, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
July
Which is
1st.
also kind of absurd, right? 1
Yeah,
year
July-
from now.
A year from now. I'm sure that will have its own little various logistical problems and other problems, political, legal. But the other thing is, I think that I don't know. I had some conversation with Arlington through the superintendent, Mr. Basic, about maybe we could talk about this once we get to this position, which we're in. But other than to kind of commiserate, I'm not sure what else we have to say. I do think it would be nice to have a closure, but maybe, I don't know if Matt's gonna be available to do anything like that. Because I'd have to go to the meeting up there, I think. And just,
When is it? When's the next one? Whenever the next one
I'd
is.
set it up with it.
Yeah, well, I'll probably work that out. And Arlington was given were they given what was I couldn't find there in the
The
report.
It
only
is in
mention
there.
of Arlington, I actually searched the document
Yeah.
for Arlington, and the only mentions of Arlington in the entire report were in our section, or we talk about it,
Right,
And
then-
Sandgate.
Yeah.
and Sandgates, and then there was a list at the very end, like, these districts, there's no merger possible or practical, and Arlington was in a bulleted list at the bottom of that. That's the only mention of Arlington by itself in the document.
So there was not a formal recommendation for them to join the,
and so what does that
They were
do to
just
their?
in a list of districts where it said merger is not possible or practical or something
Right.
like that.
But what about their issue wasn't Arlington per se, it was really BVSU,
the supervisory union.
the
but-
supervisory union, because they were under an edict from the state board to do away with themselves by joining either this SU or BRSU. And BRSU said, don't do it now.
I think that's what they settled on, and I also think that 46 doesn't specifically address,
Supervisory
SUs.
unions, no.
and so this is why they realized they really couldn't do anything. So that still sits there as a,
So there's really something for us to talk about. I don't know how much it has to do with us, but we,
sounds like they got what they asked for,
Yeah.
which was at least give us 5
At
years
least-
to try to figure out.
well, they sent a new message along shortly before June 1st about 2 years. But I'm not sure that they don't have longer, because I don't think there's any will to mess with it for a while.
So that could be very interesting. And yes, we should probably, their point was, well, what's North Bennington gonna do? Are they gonna have a vote or whatever? Thinking that that's really the only
Yeah.
way we can move forward.
Yeah, but, if they talked to me, I would have told them, and I did communicate this to Basic, and that, there's really no point for us to have a vote before things start crystallizing a little bit.
That's kind of my feeling.
Because we're asking districts that are in uncertain positions to take a position on something that increases the uncertainty by,
This
A
is my
large
point.
amount.
In the same way that Dummerston and Vernon and all that,
Yeah.
when they had those early votes, where
Right.
Dummerston used that opportunity to
squash
squash
the whole merger.
the merger, and I don't fault these districts for taking those political stances, but I can see why currently, totally independent of whether whether Pownell thinks what is best. They can use a vote like this to, if we stay in it, they can't merge any further than the K-6.
Right,
If we're allowed out, they might be forced into a K-12.
right.
And if their community doesn't want that, for whatever reason, I get it.
Yep, so in the section 10 report, that we, or this report from AOE about their plan, you know, they, in our section, they mentioned that I said, which I did, I think I remember saying this, that they could fix it. And they left it as if that's the only thing we said, but I put it in a context where, you know, you had votes of communities for a MUD, you had votes of communities against a MUD. You could honor both sides of that equation by constructing the MUD, because the communities that didn't want it could sit on the secondary board, and let the communities that didn't want it form a union elementary district and let us see what we could do about following our dream. But they didn't do that. And as I said, they didn't honor votes very well. I think that's a real error.
Well, they're following the letter of the law that says that if the votes fail
Yeah,
in more than
right.
2 of the districts, then it wasn't a vote that's valid, right? I mean,
Yeah,
but I think that's open to
yeah.
discussion.
Anyway, that's enough of that.
So that's where we're
let's-
at.
Anybody else has some comments on that? Because
Let's move on to bathroom project.
all right. Okay, so you want to talk about where we are, Kim? You want me to talk about it? Chip
Why don't
in?
you go ahead and talk about it? I can add it, I can.
Okay, so we have a contractor. We made decisions about floor covering and part of the walls. We're going to use tile on the floor, cove up the wall, then tile 4 feet up on the wall, sheetrock above it. We decided not to put a drain in. Additional expense and maintenance headache, really, for once in, who knows, you know, I don't know when, flood that might occur. You know, if we had a sprinkler discharge in there, there'd be a flood, but it'd be general.
And the rest of the building as well.
Yes. Then,
That's the only part that wouldn't leak. right?
Yeah. yeah, it'd hold the water and it'd make sure the water went out in the hallway. So those were those decisions, and Kim located very good prices on tile at House of Tile for closeout stuff, but it's good quality and the colors are fine. It'll look good, and it's cheap enough that we can buy enough for both bathrooms at this time. And we decided on a edging for the top of the wainscoting instead of tile. That'll be an aluminum molding that's made to do that. And
Saves
then-
us a lot of money.
sorry?
To save us a lot of money.
Yeah, and it's less damage prone too, I think. Then for toilet
But
partitions,
excuse me, do we want to talk about the hydro ban or no? Oh, no.
oh yeah, mention it.
So we have the option of putting in, Ray, you, I think, can speak more to the technical notes of it, but a waterproofing layer underneath the
Right.
tile. But
Which
it's-
I believe is downstairs in the kindergarten
The new one.
bathroom.
Okay, but,
That's a good thing.
something that I forwarded to you was the quote from Brett, and he thinks that that'll cost us about an additional $2,000. So,
That's mostly labor. Or
and
is it-
product, labor, but Flint Flynn had said that it's a very expensive product.
It's expensive, I don't know how much.
Right, but that's what he
Some
was
sort of
guessing.
epoxy subcoating.
I don't know what
It's
it
a-
is.
I don't know, but
Magic.
it's,
Yes, it's a magic goo that will help prevent. But we're already getting epoxy in the, we're paying
yeah,
a little
we're paying
extra
for epoxy
for
ground.
epoxy grout, which is also a waterproofing
Yeah.
sort of material. So that's something that we have to look at.
So it's the question of how bulletproof do you want it to be? And this will be pretty bulletproof for the kind of hazards we
Yeah.
can
I know.
expect.
How many times in the last 100 years has water leaked through the floor?
Well,
Can you
in the
Few times.
kindergarten room it did.
Okay.
A lot,
in the
into the
bathroom, though.
kitchen, from the
But
bathroom.
then, yeah, the
That's
kindergarten
right.
leaked,
Yeah, the kindergarten leaked a
Yeah.
lot.
Okay.
leaked into the kitchen.
Yeah, it was great, at lunchtime.
And what was that from? The toilet or
Yeah.
It was a backup.
the backup?
How many
And
rolls of toilet
there-
paper
A
did it
lot
take to
of
put?
toilet paper
to-
went down and it got clogged up and.
Yeah, right.
And
It
to
was
speaking of that, though, we'll have updated toilets
Happened.
that
Lower-
are
lower
commercial,
flow.
low,
It's
low
gonna
flow
happen
but commercial
again.
flush, like the man that was selling it to us was like, it's take any.
Yeah.
So that may help prevent,
So
So
Yeah.
the power flush versus just the regular.
Yeah,
yeah,
the thing that scares you at the airport.
Yeah. Right.
yes.
Yeah,
All
So
right,
that could
so,
help.
yeah, it could.
so,
I say no to the,
we've said no
Magic
to
goo.
the,
Okay,
the- I think we're saying no to the.
no to the
hydro.
magic goo.
Yeah.
Okay.
No magic goo. But tile and, properly constructed subfloor.
We have fun in kindergarten.
Okay, then the toilet partitions. I had wanted to hang them because I find mopping around the supports dreary and useless, and there's always dirt. But the most logical partition material from my perspective, and it turns out it's middle of the road price, is the high density plastic, high density polyethylene. And it's cheaper than stainless steel, and it's more expensive than powder coated metal, but it's not going to rust. And that is a prime consideration for long-term life, I think. So we sort of decided on that, and because to support it from the ceiling, we would have to open up the ceiling, and according to the engineering of most of the companies that I looked at, they want you to have steel put in there, steel I-beams to control the, hold the weight and keep it from torquing. And that just all made it impossible.
And the price of the stainless was
And the
crazy.
stainless is $1,000 more, so. So we're going to support it from the floor. We're going to use the HDPE. And we got, as part of that process, we had, the contractor Brett and Kim and I, we had been talking about changing the swing of the the ADA compliant bathroom to what you see here, which is this door, the 3-foot door swings to the wall, whereas it was drawn initially as swinging away from the wall. And so in the process of getting Ryan Garibaldi at Centerline to review that and redraw it for me, he realized that he had used ADA specs for adults, and that he should probably be using ADA specs for children. So we changed the drawing for that, and we end up, and then I pointed out that I really would like a second lavatory, and it turns out in one of the earlier drawings he had a second lavatory, so we put the second lavatory back in.
Because the plumbing's already there, it's not
Well,
a-
plumbing's
Right.
nearby, so I think it's readily doable. It'll cost us a little more than what we've got in the bid right now, probably. So we'll have 2 lavatories, we have 2 toilets, one's ADA compliant. And we will add, hopefully we'll change all the lights over to LEDs and add 1 fixture that illuminates in the compartments, because now there is none there. And anything else to say? Let's see, what have we been figuring out here? We've been figuring out how to get it paid for with Renee's help.
Right, so we're working on a contractual agreement with the contractor because they require 30% upfront, and then the rest of the payment once the job is satisfactorily completed.
Yeah.
So we're now working on that.
And that contractor's price includes the carpentry work and it includes the plumbing.
Correct.
Plumbing's in there as
Correct.
well.
Right, so we won't have to pay, the plumber
And
will
the
be
dem-
paid
and
under the.
demolition and all that.
Right, yes. But Renee, the plumber will be paid from the contractor, so we don't have to worry about anything.
A W-9.
A W-9 because it's all under the contractors. Okay. And then we're working on forms from the vendor to Renee for the partition.
Petition
It's
and for the
W9
tile.
Hampton.
Okay, oh yeah, I did
And-
see that report.
Excellent.
You've got that now, right?
And Renee's fine with the way the House of Tile invoice is written.
Okay. Well, now you've got one that's billed to us, but it's not, you said it was a sales,
It's a sales
Receipt.
ticket, not an invoice.
But I mean, so when the
that's my
correct
big-
invoice comes
Yeah.
after delivery tomorrow, the way that it's to SVSC, and then.
it's
that-
being
that's
delivered
right.
tomorrow?
Friday it is, yes, tomorrow at
Okay.
1:30.
Okay,
Mr. Coonrod is accepting it.
all right. Do you have a place prepared for storage?
He supposedly does.
Okay.
Okay.
He didn't tell you that?
No.
Okay.
Good.
So,
I'm good.
okay. So, yes, he said that he's prepared to accept it
Yeah,
tomorrow.
that'll be great.
Okay. I apologize, I thought he would have,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay, so then the toilets are floor mount rather than wall mount, because that seemed to be a prohibitive unknown about how to get that done. And it would be more expensive because there'd be a whole framing change at the back wall, the wall adjacent to the janitor's closet. And I guess the only real problem we have with these partitions is figuring out how the grab bar gets mounted on the HDPE partition to hold, what was it, 250 pounds?
I believe so,
Yeah, okay.
So-
But I think
yeah.
that's doable, so, yeah.
with force.
What?
They're just saying that's a big kid. 250 pounds, but it's child and force.
Yeah.
We have occasionally had a kid who could come close to
Mhm.
that, yes. But
So, I'm sure that can be worked out, right? It's some sort of
I'm-
drill through mounting.
I'm dead sure it can be, but
Is this stuff, was it 3/4
it's
inch?
an inch,
It's an inch.
It's like
It's thick.
countertop stuff.
Solid
It's
HDPE.
It's a really heavy.
HDPE.
It's
Yeah,
like Corey.
pretty
an
dense.
inch of
Yeah,
solid
it's like
HDPE
Corey.
is
That's exactly
mighty
what it is.
strong.
300
Mighty strong, yeah.
300 pound.
Well,
per-
350
those things are
pounds, they weigh
really
350.
Mhm.
Yeah, the-
Wow.
so as long as you secure it on the wall and side, and
Yes.
you're gonna be able to go through it. That's
Yep.
fine.
Yeah, I don't think it's a problem. And
So what are we,
in point fact, they won't get used much, except for fooling around, which I'm afraid of, but
That never happens.
that
Not
never
in this school.
happens. It's,
No
well,
one's
yeah,
gonna stand on them to look in the stall next to you.
yeah, right, that could be
That would
possible.
never happen.
No,
Ken, when are they starting the construction?
we don't,
What else do we have?
Oh, that would be really helpful.
so we don't know yet, so
Okay.
I'm gonna give this final drawing to Brett,
Mhm.
because things have been changed quite a bit for him. And then, now that all the paperwork has gone through central office, hopefully he'll have a better idea of when they can start. But we also need to get the board's official approval to,
I think.
Yeah,
I
so
think
let's
the
go,
only, I think the only thing that would impact us would be the demolition part
well,
might be where we
Jimmy
have
told
to,
me that
where we might have to cordon
He's-
off part of the
Yes,
For a-
they
for a
they
period
will
of
have
time,
to
right.
do something, but he told me that he suggested to Brett that he use one of these windows to dump debris out.
Yeah, if we go right out the sixth grade, if we go right across the hall, it would probably have the least impact, because every other space would be available.
So, Tim, as soon as I find out, as soon as they give us,
Yeah,
I'll
I just,
let
I
you
just
know.
wanna let folks
Yep,
know.
absolutely,
as soon as
no,
we
yeah,
can.
and we wanna know too.
Yeah,
So as soon as we find out, you'll be the first.
because
to know.
I think after demolition, we wouldn't have to cordon everything off. I think everything else, you could still be
Pretty
taken through
much.
the hall.
It's
pretty
not
much.
too messy and
Yeah,
not too.
yeah, I think we'll be good. Okay, thank you.
Well, if they're going to be taking it across the hallway, they're going to have to be able to use that hallway.
Well, we could also potentially leave the sixth grade room available for them to leave
Tools
materials
and
and stuff.
Yeah,
It's just,
materials.
it'd just be helpful for me to know when and
Yeah,
how. and
absolutely,
let
as
my
soon
folks
as,
know.
we just don't know, as
No,
soon as
that's
we
fine,
find it,
that's
yeah.
fine, thank you.
And-
So we need
I think we need an official, right, Renee?
Just for
Motion.
a deposit of that size, just that the
Well-
consensus of the
Yeah,
board
well,
is to
let's
okay that
review
payment.
this.
Well, that would be first for, just the official, would not be for the partition material or anything, that would be, yeah, right, just for the.
No, it's just.
Well, first, have we authorized the entire project, right? Like, is there?
Yes, we should authorize the entire project.
I would make a motion that we are moving forward as rapidly as possible with this concept, more than a concept, this engineered and plan that you all have done an incredible amount of work on, to move along.
All right, so I don't have a total budget figure to give you yet.
That's,
We are submitting a permit request for 20,000. That's a plus or minus figure
I think we
at this
should go.
point. But here's the good news. The largest piece of it is this piece of paper here, which is the Brett Mold Construction, plumbing and carpentry. That's $14,861. $39 to the good for us. So it's under 15,000. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. So,
Oh, right.
right.
Although
So-
we did move the plumbing on the same, that way both us over.
It won't matter.
Okay, I'm just saying. The plumbing.
I don't think it will matter.
Okay,
Sorry.
Because he's got to deal with the plumbing in this area anyway from the removal of the wall. And it may cost us a little extra, or it may have a change order. So let me, did we vote? Shall I call it?
well, you
I
made.
made a
right,
motion.
and you want someone
I'll
want a
second.
second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now, this is the contract that Brett gave us, and I'll quickly read to it. There's demolition, shimming the floor level, and installing a Advantech plywood and cement board over it, sheet rocking the wall above the tile. There's cement board, 5/8 cement board on the wall for supporting the tile, 5/8 fire code sheetrock above that on the wall for fire code reasons. Patching the jams because we're removing the door. Installing the white wall tile and the floor tile and the metal aluminum strip at the top. Tiling the floor, installing toilet stalls, grab bars, hooks, plumbing. Run any piping for sinks and toilets, install the toilet, sink and boys bathroom, no floor drains, schools providing toilet sink brackets to mount sink and faucets. That's like $6,000 right there. Total project of $14,861. And this is prices for the boys' bathroom. If the girls' bathroom wants to be done, it would be the same price. Hopefully, maybe that would be next year's project, because I don't think we'd have time to get it done this year anyway, so.
Not at this point.
So I entertain a motion to authorize the board chair to sign this quote. And you've got I haven't looked at your contract that you sent, Renee, so,
It's a really basic
Yeah.
contracted service agreement that we typically use for,
it kind of governs the contract relationships.
dates and rates and
Right.
scope of
Well,
work.
look at it and see if we can, I don't know whether Brett wants to be, we've already put a lot of work on him. But, everybody ought to be protected and know what's gonna happen. I would like kind of a schedule, rough schedule when they think they'll do things and what kind of, the money is sort of set. If we pay them the 30%, then they wait till the end to get their balance.
So,
Right, they won't get paid
acceptable.
anymore
Right.
until we give them the 30%.
Right, and that 30%, part of it goes to the plumber.
Right, so.
so we're making a motion to authorize the chair of this board to
Execute a
Execute a
contract. I'll
contract
pass
with the
this around.
construction.
You can look at it. You wish.
and to authorize a 30% payment
Yes,
upfront
Right.
now to Brett Mold Construction. And for any further little details and whatever in the coming weeks, authorizing the chair to deal with it.
yeah.
I think that's
This
important.
30% is roughly $4,500, so.
Second?
Any further observations, questions, comments, demurs, demurals? All in favor?
Aye,
Thank you very much.
get it done.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing all of
You
it.
guys have been.
Okay, now let's authorize these other bits. One is the Green Mountain tile, DBA's Bennington House of Tile. This is for floor tile, 2-inch, 2x2 mosaics in suede gray, cove corner stock in suede gray, Kataha white wall tile, 6x8, and Rondex Schulter satin nickel. It's actually aluminum. That's the finished satin nickel for a trim strip, and that's for both boys and girls bathrooms, $1,874.40.
Yeah.
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Then we have a price quotation from Supply Works, which looks like a huge amount, but it's really because they have like 5 bathrooms listed on here. So we are going to discuss with them taking the quote for HDPE, OB, I don't know what OB means exactly, but I think it means mounted from the floor.
That's what that one means.
Yep. One unit's worth, which is all the materials and hardware to do the boys' bathroom. And it's Tim and I, we cut Kim out of this, and Tim and I agreed on a medium blue tone plastic.
Yes.
But Kim's gonna get her way on the girls' bathroom.
I like the blue. I mean, it's better than green. I wanted something else.
The green is.
We're good with
the green
blue.
is my-
We're happy with blue.
the blue suit.
I think the other, what was the white with the fleck?
I like that
Yeah,
one.
so it was a white, like a white that had all these different darker flecks
Right.
in it. And since we had dark flooring and white subway tile, I thought that would look really sharp.
So we
But the
can get
gentlemen
that,
think that, and it's a school and the blue and it'll be fun.
I think
It'll be
in-
nice.
In the girls' bathroom, that will work.
yeah, I
They're-
think the blue's fine in the boys'
Yes,
bathroom.
yeah. Okay.
The white's probably better.
So what's the price, what's the amount that we're authorizing?
Like,
I really
yeah.
don't want
I'm sorry,
Okay.
310987.
we
to. So moved.
We do.
Yeah.
All right,
Authorized,
second.
yes.
tired of me talking. Yeah, I agree with it.
All in favor?
All in favor, aye.
Where are we storing all the extra time?
In the, boiler room.
Boiler room, it's a good place for it.
Excellent.
And then we do have the quote for, well, let's work on that a little bit more, the web
The web.
quote. Yeah, we'll tidy that up a bit before.
Yeah, you just authorized us to work
Basically-
out these other details.
Yeah, right,
Yes.
okay, yeah, okay.
And I think, in fact, in the boys' bathroom, there is one faucet that has paddle handles. We could reuse that particular faucet. It may not match the other one, but I don't think it'll be a big
So we
deal.
can talk about
I
that.
don't think people will care.
No.
But we have to get
You'll
new
see.
lavatories, and there is one toilet in the boys' room that is a low flush toilet now. I think we could reuse it. I don't know if it'll match the other one, but it won't, well, it can't, because the other one's the
It
ADA
saves us,
toilet.
right.
Yeah.
We trust your judgment on that, and we've authorized you to make those decisions. Because now it has to, those decisions have to happen, and it's not something we can have a consensus about.
Right.
Or
So, I think that's it.
I think so.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Wait,
one
wait.
more-
Oh,
sorry, I do have one important thing. So, we were under the impression initially that the safety and security grant process would allow us to write the grant. It's not the case. It was,
It won't allow us to do what?
it won't allow the village school to write the grant. It was
We have to
written-
write it?
It was written literally so specifically that the only independent school that qualifies is Thetford Academy. Not Burn, not St. John's. It was written in many people's belief in the independent school world very intentionally. So that they said, hey, we want to save all these schools, but we don't want to provide safety and security for independent schools. So literally, by the way it was written, that the independent school has to have so many members who are voted on and da-da-da-da-da, that literally the only one in the whole state is Thetford Academy that meets their requirements. So,
Sort of puts
I
the
am
lie
still,
to
I am
being
still,
all for all
I am
kids.
still waiting for, because, well, when I first emailed them about this, because I read it and was like, it doesn't seem like we would be included. I have received emails that said we would. So the state hasn't really, they did not understand the full implication, and then 5 emails later, no, actually you don't, and you can't. I am still waiting for a backup on, there is a thing that says districts can apply. So I am hoping that you guys can be the ones who, so we still want to draft it, so we're still going to go forward, hopefully, and draft it, and you may have to sign it, but it'll happen before you meet again. So you may need to sign off on it via electronic communication. I don't know how you would do it, I just want to warn you
Well,
that
we
that would
could,
happen.
we could have a resolution now that allows the board chair to sign.
Yeah, I
Okay.
authorized the board chair to sign any grant proposal or
Thank you.
that would allow the furtherance of this process for,
I appreciate that, thank you.
and I've dealt with this recently, it's all now electronic signature stuff you do online, it's a nightmare.
Yep.
But,
Yeah,
Sometimes
I'd rather do it
Yeah.
in person.
yeah, but.
Yeah, you can, I mean, we can walk you through it or
Right,
whatever
yeah.
it is, but I mean, I just,
But
thank you for
yeah.
that, I
And
appreciate
thank
it.
you
It's still
for
gonna have to be
doing the legwork and doing the work for it.
So, is there a second for
My
that?
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Can I now make a motion to adjourn?
No, now I'm all,
Do it.
now I'm all set.
My second.
All in favor?
Yeah, fine.
None.